Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends. Thanks for tuning in today. My name is Erin Bradley, and I am your host. And I am here today with Zander Kempf. And first, I just want to honor Zander for his service to our country because he is a former Special Forces veteran who went from serving in Iraq to building a $35 million real estate portfolio. And what he says is that real estate was never just about financial freedom, but also about defining and attaining a lifestyle of freedom. And so I think if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know why I was a hell yes for Zander being on the show with us today. So, what I love about his investment strategy is that they found an unconventional niche of RV and glamping resorts. And they're doing something that is so fun and innovative. And again, if you know me, then you know I love adventuring and traveling in our RV. And so I don't want to ruin the surprise that Xander's about to share with us, but it's going to be really cool. So buckle up, get ready to feel inspired, get ready to believe that there are no rules to how you design your vision of a lifestyle of freedom and that it can be really interesting and kind of fun. So, with no further ado, Zander, thank you for being with us today. I'm really, really fired up for this interview.
Aaron, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so bring us through the backstory. I mean, I gave very crappy cliff notes pretty much here, but I want to hear from you. So bring us back to how this story has unfolded to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started doing real estate back when I was in the military. I was, doing the normal invest in the stock market, and I tried options trading and crypto and a few other ventures, and I found real estate first just as a another investment. My first house was a $45,000 single family house with a tenant that was paying $300 a month, and it was a 9K down payment because I got a loan. And at first that was it, but then as we got into it, I saw the power that real estate had to create leverage, to create long-term passive income. And I just fully dove in. I self-educated, read every book I could find, and listened to hundreds of hours of podcasts. I did online courses, and then started buying properties, and started with value add, small rehab single families, and then started flipping houses. And didn't really like the flipping because the whole goal was long-term cash flow, and that didn't really give you that. So I switched over to doing flipping, but multifamilies. But instead of selling, we would just do a refinance and then pull all our money out. We'd own the property, cash flowing, and then roll it to the next deal and keep building. So we did that for a while. And at some point in there, I left the military, moved out to Hawaii to work for a large real estate developer, and got great experience with them working as a project manager. We were doing high-rise hotel and industrial subdivision and retail centers and all sorts of, we even did a cemetery project, all sorts of interesting projects out here in Hawaii. On my own, built myself up to about 23 apartment buildings, left the development company I was working for, and continued building our development company, and started doing more development style because the multifamily kind of tapped out. We converted some buildings, we're doing new construction. And then right around the middle of COVID, we did a big pivot, and I looked at the multifamily world, and it was high interest rates and a lot of competition, and the numbers just didn't really make sense to me anymore. And I also wasn't super aligned with, affordable housing. It just wasn't something that was like really a passion for me. So we looked across the real estate industry, and we saw all the different asset classes and started analyzing, and we found this kind of untapped niche of outdoor hospitality, which is RV and glamping resorts. And we saw pretty much everywhere else in real estate was highly competitive, and this little niche had very low competition and really high cash flow. We saw as 88% owned by small mom and pops. And not only that, but it's outdoor hospitality. It's beautiful outdoor properties that are near national parks or other major destinations, and something that I can align much more with personally and have some great cash flow opportunities. Sold the entire multifamily portfolio, rolled everything over, rebuilt our whole company just to focus on these RV and glamping resorts. And that's what we're doing now.
When you rolled over the entire portfolio, how did you do that without having identified where you were going to place the capital? Was there a 1031 exchange involved, or did you have to pay the capital gains? Like, logistically speaking, what does that look like? Because I'm imagining that was quite a sizable portfolio with 23 plus apartment buildings and high rises and things.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a big project to get everything done. But initially, yeah, it was okay, we 1031, it's real estate. Obviously, we do that. And we sat down with our tax firm and kind of mapped out that we didn't need to 1031, which is interesting. The RV parks and glamping resorts are kind of unique in the real estate world in that if you think of a downtown multifamily building, your land value is a pretty big chunk of the purchase price. And then also, if you do a cost segregation study, your foundation and your main structure is also a large value of that, the purchase price. Well, conversely, in our RV parks, our land value is almost nothing because we're in relatively rural areas. And then also, we don't have any major foundations or big structures or anything, which means almost the entire purchase price gets attributed to personal property or short life depreciation, which means we get like 2 or 3 times the amount of depreciation from our properties than we would get from a multifamily building. So, because of that, we didn't need to 1031. We were just simply able to sell, buy the replacement properties, and do our bonus and cost segregation to accelerate depreciation and get enough to offset all the capital gains from our multifamily deals. And then we didn't have to deal with the 1031 timelines and all of the extra complexities that adds.
So when you guys discovered that this was the pivot you were going to make, I know this is not super relevant, but I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
Where did it come from? Like, was there a mentor, a colleague, or like just an aha moment one day?
It was an aha moment. And I remember I'm smiling because it's a pretty nerdy thing, but I remember I was lying in bed thinking about the return on equity in my portfolio and doing the mental math there of like our return on equity and our cash on cash and that stuff. And it just kind of clicked with me. And I don't know why I hadn't thought of this earlier. At that time, we didn't have as many formal like asset management systems in place, but it just kind of clicked with me. I was like, wow, our return on equity is not as high as it could be. Like, what if we just sold everything and took all of that equity and put it in something else that had higher cap rate, which gives us higher cash flow? And how much more cash flow would I make if I did that? And then I went on like a 2 hour walk, just like power walking, like processing that idea, and came back, was like, all right, well, now I gotta go figure out what to buy. And then pursued all the analysis and searching the different asset classes. But it was really that of just simply coming down to the numbers of what's our return on equity and what could it be in a different asset class.
With you guys living in, well, you're living in Hawaii, and we talked about national parks and all these things. So I imagine you're doing a lot of these on the mainland. And I'm curious, what did it look like to start to identify the opportunities? I mean, were you doing it like old school cold calling style? Did you enlist the help of some virtual assistants to do some dialing for you? Like, talk us through the strategy of identifying the properties and then and ultimately starting to acquire.
Yeah, so our first deal we already had started about 2.5 years ago as my main business partner right now, Eric Rubenstein. He runs our construction management arm. We had started a glamping project a couple of years ago, and at that time it was just an opportunistic deal. He knew the area, and we had just started it, still while doing all the other multifamily stuff. But it's an Airstream glamping resort, 20 minutes from the Grand Canyon. So we had some familiarity with that. I guess that was maybe part of the basis for diving in there. But for actually finding deals, again, it's because it's such a low competition industry, we were able to find deals really, really easily after we identified what our core market is. When I do something, I do it like 200%. So we dove in and we went to every conference in the outdoor hospitality space and we met all the players. And it's a very small industry. Like there's I think, 5 million multifamily buildings in the US, 40,000 mobile home parks, and only 15,000 RV parks. So it's a very, very small niche, which means there's not that many lenders, brokers, insurance agents, like all of that stuff. So pretty quickly we could identify all of the major players and got FaceTime and we're able to network our way around. So we were able to get a decent amount of leads through referrals. We did do some cold calling using VAs. And now we're at a really fortunate point where we have 10 times more deals than we have capacity to purchase. We have a very full deal pipeline, and luckily we get to pick the best deals and negotiate very aggressively on them and get really great deal terms.
I'm really nerding out as I knew I was going to. And so sometimes get a little granular with the transition out of your multifamily portfolio and into this glamping resorts. Did you have to start to use different types of creative financing, or were you able to start to acquire properties with cash because you had just liquidated such a huge portfolio?
Yeah, so we use leverage. We don't necessarily max leverage, but creative finance is something that I absolutely love and build into every single deal. So the easy ones is just seller carries as a full or a partial. I love master lease options, and we end up using those very frequently. We do a lot of equity contributions, where the seller will buy it for a certain price, but they have to reinvest maybe 10, 20, 30% of that purchase price back into the deal or into our fund. So a lot of creative finance there to enhance the deals. And that's what I was referencing when I said we can negotiate aggressively, because there's not that many buyers in this space that's doing this niche. We have the ability to close and get the deals done. So we can come in with aggressive offers and make really fantastic deals happen.
Give us one or maybe two examples of some of the most favorite projects that you guys have done, because I'm just picturing the what is it called? The makeovers that you're doing to these properties. So you're buying these sort of outdated RV parks. I imagine they've got all the hookups and everything, and you're coming in and turning it into a glamping experience, which is so fun. So can you share a couple examples of what that looks like? There may be some listeners that don't do a lot of RVing, and so they don't even know what to picture. And I think I can imagine it. So I want to paint the picture for them.
One that's like, has a bit of an emotional attachment was the first one that we built. And that was just because it was like kind of our baby, and started it from the ground up. But it's an Airstream glamping resort. So we are the last little town as you're going to the Grand Canyon. There's the South Rim entrance, which is where almost all visitors go to see the Grand Canyon. It's about 6 million people a year drive down this road. And we are right there at the last junction. There's a couple little restaurants and other hotels and glamping resorts there, and that's effectively it. So this property was most of what we're buying are value add, so it's something existing, and then we're like repositioning or expanding. This one we built from the ground up, so it was just a vacant lot that we actually took all the way through rezoning and titling, site plan design, and then did the construction. And it has Airstream trailers, so it's a vintage, like silver bullet trailers that are retro and cool and vibey. And we fully retrofitted and gutted them and rebuilt the interior, so it's really nice residentialized. You have like a normal toilet and a normal shower, not like the more difficult to use RV ones. So those are fully outfitted on the inside with 2 beds, and then on the outside you have a private hot tub that you can use, and then a communal area for it's like a little boutique hotel setup. So you have a sauna, a dog run, fire pit, and then another trailer that we had for like a game room, hangout type space.
So fun. You mentioned before we started recording that at this stage of your development, you're starting to raise capital
Mhm.
and you've created a fund where people can invest passively with you. And we've had some guests on the show that have talked about different types of syndication, passive investing. I love passive investing because I used to do a lot of active investing and I realized I don't really have the time or the energy for it. So
Mhm.
I'm always really interested in creative ways to invest and see cash flowing returns, which is a lot different than other investment vehicles that are out there where you're going to wait until someday in the future and get your money back and hopefully, right, at some point. So let's talk as if the listeners never known anything about passive investing and definitely never heard of it in this arena, and talk us through what that looks like for someone who wants to basically have a piece of the pie, but doesn't want to have to go find a job buying mobile home parks or RV parks in some remote area of the country.
The idea from very first when I started in real estate was we can buy cash flowing properties that pay monthly cash flow, cover the expenses, and then that's net cash flow that I get every month forever. And that's the idea. So my entire time in real estate, the last 9 years, has always been with that mindset. And even things that we flipped or developed have big payouts. The idea was always, well, any money that I make, I want to invest in a like forever portfolio of really solid, high quality pieces of property that pay cash flow, that are super stable and safe, and I can own forever. And I know they'll give me a check on the first of every month for life. And then that's freedom. That's financial freedom. I can go live my life and travel and do anything with. When we did this pivot over to outdoor hospitality, myself and Eric, my partner, we kind of sat down. We're like, well, this is what we want for ourselves, but there's probably other people that want this as well. So why don't we offer this as a fund and let other people get the exact same thing? And it's kind of like partnering together. So our team has the skill set and the experience to buy these properties, maximize their value, have the expertise to operate them, to produce cash flow, and really optimize them. But real estate takes a lot of capital to do. So we bring in investor partners who invest with us. They get a share of all of the cash flow and all of the upsides. And it's kind of as simple as that. So it's, the fund is an LLC. It's, you become a member of the company, a member of the fund. So every single month when we distribute, every investor gets a direct deposit. And then if we ever refinance or if we ever sell, there's, they get a big share of that as well.
So what does it look like in terms of your preferred returns and the minimum investments? And I don't want to say the word is not unusual, but it's special that you're doing monthly distributions. I feel like a lot of passive investments are quarterly.
Yep.
So what does that look like if someone was curious about being an investor?
Yeah, and we did, like, everything we built with this was with the investor in mind and with that focus on how can we as closely as possible mimic an income stream. So it is truly like long-term income. So that's why we do the monthlies. But so our return structure is every dollar of profit that comes in goes to the investors until you make an 8% preferred return. So myself and my other general partners, we don't see any profit until the investors get 8% per year. And then after that, it's between a 60 and a 70% profit split on top of that. So every additional dollar after the 8% is met, 60 to 70% goes to the investors. And then our side gets the other piece of that. The way we structured this is because all of the deals that we find have some significant value add component. We know that we can do the same thing that we've always done with our multifamilies and other resorts now, is buy it, improve the value, and then do a cash out refinance to pull all our money out. So then we essentially have nothing left in the deal, and then we can own it forever. So that's how the fund works. You invest in, you get monthly distributions from the cash flow. Within the first, say, 3 to 5 years, we'll do that refinance, and that would return all of your invested capital. So your full investment back, but then you keep your shares and you keep that exact same 60 to 70% split of every dollar of cash flow in perpetuity. And then if we ever sell the portfolio, you get a 50% split on the sale after you get your money back.
Got it. So, and with the cash out refinance, that's tax free, correct?
Yeah, and I'll preface, I'm not a CPA, so tax
Right.
advice, talk to
Yeah.
your own CPA. But yes, it's a refinance, not a sale. So our understanding is that no, you don't incur capital gains, and it's not a taxable event.
We are not tax experts. That's my disclosure as well. We're just two nerds talking about money and investing and not giving any tax advice. Okay. What about how do you guys market for maximum occupancy?
That's kind of my favorite, or one of my favorite pieces of it is when we come in, we're buying from usually people that have owned these properties for 20 or 30 years, and they're just not very sophisticated operators oftentimes. So they don't know all the professional marketing systems. They might just throw it on one listing site or have their own website, and that's kind of it, or there's enough word of mouth to generate. But we come in as a full-fledged, like, every channel we can possibly find, and we push really heavily and do them all really well. Particularly for the glamping, the biggest ones are your travel sites like Airbnb and VRBO, booking.com, all of those. We do SEO, so we rank on Google. So if you type in like places to stay Grand Canyon or hotel near the Grand Canyon, we'll rank on there. Sometimes we'll actually do Google ads to show up on that. We do social media marketing. So we push our Instagram and Facebook pages. We'll do influencer marketing. So we actually have travel influencers that'll come and stay for free. We'll give them we'll either give them a free stay in order to do content for us, or even sometimes like a referral code where they can come and stay and then they go market to their audience. Or maybe they'll produce like a travel guide or something. And then we'll give them like a small commission every time somebody books through their link. And that way we get a network of people that are pushing leads to us. For the RV park side, I'm sure you've seen some of it, but there's different listing sites for specifically RV parks. So we list on all of those and just put a lot of effort into, okay, every single possible lead generator. We go in there. One that we also like a lot is the direct booking. So trying to get people to book on our website rather than a third party. And what that means is we get their customer data, which means now we can remarket to them. So we do email marketing campaigns. And oftentimes when people stay, they're traveling relatively closely. Obviously, some people do like big road trips around, but more often, about 80 or 90% of stays are people within a 250-mile radius. So what that means is we can remarket to them, and it's a good chance that they might come back every year or maybe twice a year. And by giving them advertisements, now we've already acquired them as a customer, and that reduces our customer acquisition costs.
Okay, and so with the example of the Airstream one, that is accommodations, so they are just driving up. They don't need an RV. Do you also have spaces where those who are traveling with RVs can come and plug in? And then what kind of amenities have you added to those types of upgrades?
Yeah, so we do RV parks and glamping resorts. So they both, depends if you're just coming to stay within a furnished unit or are you coming in with your own van, camper, or RV. The way that we brand is the same for both, is we do that kind of hip, vibey, like string lights and nice landscaping, and then the health and wellness side of we pretty much always do jacuzzis, saunas, cold plunges, dog runs, outdoor fire pits. We like the communal kitchens. And then depending on the site, if there's space for things like hiking trails or pickleball courts, volleyball courts, any of that sort of stuff, just to give people this really like more luxurious spa hangout type experience. So now people can stay and enjoy for a longer period of time.
And you mentioned before we started recording too, that there's a perk for the investors that they get to stay for free at the spaces. Is that right?
Yeah. So anyone that invests in the fund, they get 7 nights per year that they can stay at any of the resorts. And then 50% off for any stays after that. And they also get 10 buddy passes to give to friends and family for a half off night stay.
Cool. And is there a minimum investment?
Yeah. So our minimum's 50,000. And depending on how much you invest, that profit split I mentioned, the 60 to 70% increases the more funds you invest.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, this is super fun. I want to check out the places to come and stay. How many spots do you have at this point? How many locations do you have?
So at this moment, we own 4. We have, by the time this podcast airs, hopefully it's quite a bit more. We have 2 closing next week and 3 more under contract. But by the end of this year, our target is 15 resorts in the portfolio.
Okay, and then what is the name of the company? I mean, if people want to find you to stay at one of your resorts, is that a different email list than if they want to find you to get on the investor list to learn about upcoming opportunities to be part of the fund?
Yeah, so everything's through our website, Clear Summit Investments, clearsummitinvestments.com. We will list all the properties on there, but that's still a little more targeted just for investors. For people wanting to stay at our resorts, we usually acquire them when they're searching locally, but you could find them through our website because we'll show what we have on there.
Awesome. So fun. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. And if, apart from Clear Summit Investments, if someone wants to get a hold of you or follow you or find you, like where are the ways that you're available to be reached?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on social media. I'm Zander Kempf everywhere. We're most active on LinkedIn. So you can follow us there. But otherwise, through our website, there's a company phone number and email, and would love to connect with anybody.
Okay, this is so fun. I can't wait to watch this unfold, and I can't wait to come and check out some of these places. I have to say, we were on our way to a music festival last year called Tico Time. It's down in like the southwest corner of Colorado, where Colorado and New Mexico intersect. And on the way, there was a resort that had cold plunge and hot springs and like all the things that you're talking about. And it was neat because we've done every form of camping, off the grid, on the grid, with hookups, without, whatever. And I was like, I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of awesome. I mean, they actually, there was a meal provided, and we just did the in and out of the hot springs and the cold plunge for a day before we went onto a music festival, and then hit it on the way back to recover. And I was like, I'm really liking the way that the camping world is moving, because I'm all right at this age with a little bit of glamping. Like, give me
Yeah.
give me a little bit of the spa experience. I'll take it.
I love it. And it's funny, we actually have one of those ones I mentioned that we're closing next week is a hot spring resort in southern Colorado.
Awesome. Well, then I'm gonna need the details on that. We have a lot of
For
Colorado
sure.
listeners. You want to go ahead and share about that?
I'm afraid to jinx it because we haven't closed yet. We have loan approval, so that's a big step. But
Yeah.
by the time this airs, you can go on our website. You should be able to see the hot spring resort.
All right, to all my Colorado peeps, what do you say we all meet up at a glamping resort in Southern Colorado sometime soon? Hit me up, shoot me a DM on Instagram at Pursuing Freedom Official, and let's go have a camping festival. That sounds fun to me.
Perfect.
Well, thank you, Xander. Appreciate you taking the time to share. This was a very fun episode, selfishly for me, because we do love the RV life and the camping life, and so taking it and leveling it up is very enticing to me. So I'm excited to check out your spaces here soon.
Absolutely. I'd love to have you. And thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
And to all my Pursuing Freedom friends out there, as always, I love you. I appreciate you. If you are listening to this and you have not yet left a 5-star review, please stop, park the car, leave the review. It helps us continue to attract amazing guests with exciting content, investment ideas, business development ideas, mindset, strategy, everything you need to help you on your journey to building a life you don't need a vacation from. I love you. I appreciate you. We'll see you next time.